Today we're going to take a look at writing and solving percent problems. I'm going to give you two different methods to use, and it doesn't matter to me which method you use as long as you show all your work. You can switch between the two methods, it doesn't really matter, but as long as you're showing your work. So the first method is going to be the proportion method. And so the proportion method is going to be, you're going to write a proportion and then you're going to solve them like what we did yesterday. So you're going to have is over of equals the percent over 100. And then you're going to be able to cross multiply and solve for whatever variable is missing. So let's go ahead and take a look at a few examples. So we might say, what is 20% of 50? When you learned this previously, you may have heard part over whole. I like to use is over of because those are usually the words that are used in the problem. So it says what is, that means we don't know what the is. So that's going to be our x. My of here, it says of 50. The percent always goes over 100. So we're going to have 20 over 100. Now we're going to go ahead and we are going to solve this just like we did with proportions. We're going to cross multiply, remember. Again, if it helps you to draw the circles, draw the circles. So we have 100x equals 1,000. I'm going to divide both sides by 100. And we're going to get x is equal to 10. And that one's done. Here's another one. We have what percent of 8 is 2? So, again, this time I know that my is 2. My of is 8. I don't know the percent this time, so my x is going to go over 100. I'm going to cross multiply, so we're going to end up with 200 equals 8x. If I divide both sides by 8, I'm going to end up with x is equal to 25, so I know that it's 25%. Let's do one last one like this. So we have 5 is 30% of what? Okay, so I'm going to say 5 is my is. I don't know my of. 30 is my percent, so again, the percent always goes over 100. So if I cross multiply, I'm going to get 500 equals 30x. I'm going to divide both sides by 30. If I do that, I'm going to end up with about 16.7%. Don't round it to a whole number, take it to a decimal. The next method that we're going to take a look at is the equation method. And some people like this method a little bit better. And wherever you see the word is in the equation method, is means equals. And of means to multiply. Something that you have to be really careful of here is that you have to move decimals. So that's why some people don't like to deal with this method, is because you're dealing with decimals. So let's go ahead and take a look at a few examples. So they might say, find 6% of 20. So when it says find, you can think of that being what is, same thing. So we're saying what we don't know. So we're going to say x is means equals 6%. We have to turn this to a decimal if you're using the equation method. Remember, move it over 2 times so you have 0.06. And then of means to multiply. Use a dot, use parentheses, don't use x to indicate multiplication because x is our variable here. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to multiply this. We're going to end up with x is equal to 1.2. Go ahead and do another one. So we have what percent of 12 is 5. So again, our what is our x, of means to multiply, so times 12, is means equals 5. We're going to go ahead and we're going to divide both sides by 12. If I do this, I'm going to end up with x equals 0.416. Okay, we didn't move a decimal to start off with, so we're going to move the decimal now. And so we're going to move it and we're going to have this as 41.6%. And let's do one more. So we have 12 is 40% of what? So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to write 12 is means equals 40% as a decimal is 0.40. Of means multiply, so times x. To get x by itself, we want to divide both sides by 0.40. Remember to show your work. If you do that, you're going to get x is equal to 30. So with the equation method, you have to move the decimal. If there is a percent given in the problem, you're moving it at the beginning. If you're finding the percent, you're moving it at the end. With the proportion method, you don't have to move the decimal. The last thing we're going to look at in terms of percent problems are tax and discount. And this is something that you actually use quite a bit. If you're going out to eat anywhere and you're figuring out your bill, if you're going to the store and something's on sale, you're going to be using these quite a bit. So let's go ahead and take a look at an example of each. So you buy a sweater that costs $12 with 6% tax. We want to find the total cost. So the first thing that we're going to do is we need to find out what the sales tax is. In order to do that, we're just going to go ahead and we are going to multiply. If you wanted to set a proportion, you definitely could, and then add them. I'm going to use the equation method for these ones just because it's a little bit easier. So I'm going to have $12 times 0.06. If we go ahead and multiply that, you're going to have 0.72. So that's the tax, so it's 72 cents. So the total cost then is going to be 12 plus 72 cents. I know that you can just write down 12.72. I need to see all your work. I need to see how you got that. You are able to use a calculator on this section and this section only. Okay, so on your test on Friday, there will be 2 parts of your test. One, you can use a calculator, and one you cannot. You must use a real calculator. Your iPad is not a calculator. Your phone is not a calculator for the test. It must be an actual calculator if you're going to use one. All right, now let's go ahead and do a discount problem. So you buy a TV that costs $150 but is discounted by 20%. Find the selling price. So for this one, we're going to go ahead and we are going to pretty much set it up the same way. We're going to take our initial cost and we're going to multiply it by the percent. And the percent, remember, as a decimal is 0.20. If I do that, I'm going to end up with $30. This time it's a discount, so I'm not going to add it because it's on sale and it's going to be costing less. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to subtract. And we're going to end up with $120.